Hello and welcome to another episode of Warped Ones. We're doing things slightly different today. We're trying out our online format, so you can have all our lovely heads on and with our lovely backgrounds that we've been taking time to put together. Today's episode, we're going to be focusing a bit on the hobby side of things, just for a change, as we tend to focus a lot on the rule aspect. So we've got a guest on later, one of our guests in the community, Pink Warhammer. She's can be found on Instagram and has her own commission business. So it'll be interesting to find out all about her and her hobby. So we're going to start with what we normally start with, the hobby roundup. How's it all been going, gents? How you been hobbying this week?
I painted.
Oh, Lord.
You painted? Bloody hell.
No,
Let's go to Sean first. Let's go to Sean first then, because it's a miracle.
Your toenails don't count, Sean.
Yeah.
I don't paint my toenails. They just get painted for me.
That's true.
I painted some Custodes and I painted some Imperial Fists. I've actually got a significant amount of paint and some things.
2 armies.
Then bought some more models that are still grey.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But that's good.
Pain.
But yeah,
That's
we've got paint going on and done some game playing as well. Had a nice
Yeah.
Yeah, we have. Fair play, Sean. Fair play. We had a game, didn't we, mate? That was a good game for me. I did really well.
Oh, we had the Votan versus the Custodes.
Votan were in your defence. Votan were doing really well in the first turn before the Custodes had any turn whatsoever, and then it kind of went downhill from there.
I struggled with board
check out the
really
YouTube video, but spoilers.
It was that bad. I had to resort to chemical warfare.
I
Oh
mean,
my God. I mean, this has got nothing to do with hobbying. Well, it does, because you melted the paint off all of the models. I have never known anyone to be so toxic, and I don't mean table food. I mean just bottom burbling, stomach churning, wallpaper burning. It was like, I mean, I've never known a Warhammer game where Sean was opening up his back door as I was opening up the window, and we were both hanging our heads outside. That is, I tell you what, something crawled inside you and died. I'm just putting it out there.
I'm putting it out there, that's for sure.
Well,
I mean, yeah.
I almost gave up turn 2 just to avoid being in the same room.
Most of what I saw of the camera recording was this.
Yeah,
it was literally like that. I'm like trying to record this thing like this, and my eyes were stinging because they were out. I'm like, oh my God, I just can't do this. You know what I mean? And then literally you sort of check, you do your check, you sort of pull your shirt down and you check the air, you test it out. You're a bit like a canary down the mine. You're there, and you're going, okay, it's gone. And I kid you not, you literally within seconds you just hear, and you're like, not again. Not again, because it does. It was very open and wet. I'm sorry. You need fiber, my friend. It was just.
Hey, I'm lactose intolerant. It's not my
stop eating cheese then.
He's lactose intolerant, and yet after every single time he broke wind, he was like, shouldn't have eaten cheese. Ooh, maybe the milk was a bad idea. I mean, it was just, he'd basically gone around. I mean, by the end of it, all of us stood there and thought, how dare he?
You're practicing for Friday,
I knew it was a game, right? A Votan versus Custodes. It was basically the bottom of the league versus the top of the league. So I had to bring extra options, and chemical warfare was my only option.
It was not an option. It was not.
I had to pay 100 points for that.
It almost worked.
It did almost work. We almost abandoned the game, but yeah. But anyway, did you actually do?
Anyway, you can check out the battle report on YouTube.
Yes. Did you actually do any hobbying, Adam?
I've not really painted anything actually. I've been busy building my new Sisters of Battle, Adeptus Sororitas army. I'm probably about a third of the way through. Stress building because I'm desperate to get them on the table. But that's about all I've done really.
My favourite moment from that is because we were sat on a call on Skype last night having a chat, and what model were you trying to get stuck to a base? What was that?
Oh God, the Celestine. Yeah.
And I tell you what, the frustration on this man's face as his model kept on just falling over and wouldn't stand up. In the end, I'm like, bloody, just stack it up next to something, lean it against something, just trying to get it hold up. It was just a thing of beauty, but you managed it in the end. But yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, I pinned it now. What I've done, I glued it and I put a pin through the bottom of the base so she shouldn't go anywhere.
Fair enough. Sounds
Yeah.
good. Sounds
What
good.
about you?
The annoying thing is, I actually had her stuck on the base already, but I took it off because she looked like she was sort of swooping down on people like this, and I wanted her rising up like an angel. So I just and then I couldn't get it to stick. So I should have just left it alone the first time.
Yeah, you fiddled and it went wrong. Story of my life. Yeah.
Story of my life. Yeah, I'm a fiddler. What can I say?
Okay, you've heard it here first.
Simon, what about you? Have you hobbied?
I have hobbied actually, and do you know what? I've gone. I haven't done any painting. Oh, actually, I have done painting, but a small amount of painting. What I've actually started to do is look at my Eldar. One video which we put up recently was me and Sean did what I thought was one of my favourite games we played so far in 10th was I bought a list which I used to play in 8th for my Eldar, which was my Ulthway list of flyers and wave serpents and Eldrad and just Guardians, and Sean, you did your 9th list of sort of Custodes, Bikers and stuff like that. So we sort of played that, and that kind of got me having fun with Eldar. And I haven't played it because Lee on the channel, he's someone who usually plays with Eldar, so I kind of left him to it. But yeah, exactly.
Chaser.
And then I was like, hang on a minute, I want to chase that meta too. This is great fun. No, but I mean, so basically, I got interested in that, and then I was like, right, well, what can I do to have a bit of fun? So I've actually gone down the Corsair, the Eldari Corsair route, because actually I did have quite a few of the Corsairs from the box set. I can't remember what the box set was called now, but we did because me and Sean we bought 2 box sets and shared it. The Chaos versus
or Chaos
Kill Team box, wasn't it? Yeah. So I had a few of those unbuilt, so I've decided to build up the Corsairs and then change the paint scheme of my Eldar to sort of bring it into something new and exciting and interesting, a bit more of a bright colour scheme, so it's bright orange and bright blue, and that sort of stuff. And then to add to my lore and stuff, I've actually decided to proxy some cool models. So I've actually gone down into Necromunda, and I've actually for all my leader models now, I've purchased the Necromunda model, which is cool. So we've got the sort of Corsair Pirate Queens, the Baronesses, and that sort of stuff, and even have got like sort of like a religious chainsword wielding, fire breathing man to sort of spread the love of that. And so I'm trying to build up a lore and that sort of stuff. I don't see Corsairs being used at all. I'm on the Corsair Facebook website, sort of a Facebook page of the Corsairs, and no one's actually talking about the army they're building or playing with. It's just about, oh look, I've painted something, or what's the lore behind it. There's no sort of battle report. So I thought, you know what, let's see how they go. I've thoroughly enjoyed not going down the route of decannons, and that sort of the sort of more
because they go boom.
Yeah, they go. Lee loves
Do they now?
decannons go boom. But I kind of, it was fun not going down the meta and actually having. I bought in the list which I played was 3 planes, a Crimson Hunter, and 2 Hemlocks, which I thoroughly enjoyed using. And it just meant it was it wasn't OP. You had to really play the list, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So that's what I want to do. Yeah, so I've done that and then painted a few models and going down that list really.
We'll have to do an old classics match, Simon. Your Eldar list against Space Wolves, because we did that quite a lot back in 8th edition.
Well, that was pretty
back
much
when all we had was Wolves and Eldar.
That was our first games in 8th was Eldar versus Space Wolves. So we'll have to pull that out of the bag and see what we can do on the channel. Yeah. And what about you, Lee? How's it going with you, sir?
I have done literally no hobbying. I'm getting withdrawal symptoms.
Shaking.
Pretty much. Basically, I have been buying
stuff. So, that's part of fun.
Next thing. So officially have started my Black Templars. I have the Emperor's Champion and the High Marshal Helbrecht himself.
Now, what a fluffy team up we'll have to do is my sisters and your Black Templars. That would be really fluffy.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. The only thing as well I'm thinking of is I just need to finish off my Drukhari as well, just to get 2k points, since the points dropped from 10th. So get them properly on the board and on the table in any relative competitive form as well. So
Just
I got
proxy
to
some
do
Eldar,
tests.
we don't mind.
right?
Just bring an extra unit.
I did,
You'll
and they
do.
got destroyed by
Yeah.
custodes. Yeah, but that's including the extra unit.
Yeah.
So hopefully I will have some 2K of Drukhari of actually like different units and stuff that's not relying on clowns and stuff
Nice.
in a few weeks.
Sounds amazing.
Wonderful.
Sounds amazing. So this episode we kind of we're going down the route of sort of more hobbying side of things and talking about painting and that sort of stuff. So before we get to our guest, let's sort of talk about how we would rate ourselves or our enthusiasm on the hobbying side of Warhammer. Because I know that we've got people here chatting who perhaps it's not their favourite thing to do compared to stuff. So
I actually really enjoy hobbying. I really do. Once I get into the swing of it, it's kind of my zen place sometimes. I'm probably more. I really like the modelling, so I really like sort of sculpting out of green stuff and converting and kit bashing. That's probably my favourite. I'm actually quite good at that, I think. You've seen some of the things I've kit bashed. Painting, I'm okay. I'd give myself probably straight down the middle, but that's still advancement to where I was. But I'm improving constantly. So yeah, I do actually enjoy it, but it's like the rest of us is finding the time to do it. We all live busy lives. I've got a wife and children, full-time job, and at the minute I'm painting, but it's not Warhammer, it's the kitchen. So when I said to the wife, I'm going to have a whole day painting, and she gave me a tin of paint and a paintbrush for the kitchen, that wasn't quite what I had in mind. Who am I to argue with the wife, though?
Dulux. You can still paint with Dulux. It doesn't matter.
and just wait until you dry brush the kitchen. She'll love it.
This needs a wash.
Just chuck oil on it.
Contrast paint.
What you put on now, it's Nuln Oil. Don't worry about it. It'll be lovely. It'll really bring out the cracks and crevices. It'll be fine.
Bit of contrast paint.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Sharp that shade and highlight it.
It'd be great. Cool. So yeah, so we got someone who's a fan of the hobbying side. Lee, what about you?
Yeah, I've got to get into it. So I've not picked up a paintbrush since the tournament. But I like, especially with like my focus going to be on Drukhari, and I was thinking about this week. If I had to go to a tournament tomorrow, I wouldn't take Pravros. I would probably take Drukhari. So I think something like that is giving me the urge to try and get them all painted.
Could you get them painted by tomorrow? I mean, we're talking. It's 20 past 8 now. One at 9 o'clock in the morning. You've got like 13 hours. 12 and a half hours. Could you get it done?
No, but my point is, I wouldn't. Even though Eldari is my favorite army, that's my main army. The way that they are in the minute in the game, I want to take something different, like Drukhari, where it's more.
I think when it's an army that you really enjoy the lore and you like the models, then you put your heart into it. So you get better results, and you take your time. You don't mind it so much. Like some of your GSC that you painted, Simon. You really like that. And I think you with Knights as well, Sean. I know sometimes you say you're not a fan of painting, but your Knights that I've seen and your Custodes actually, I think because you really like them, you get good results out of it.
Yeah. So Sean, you like painting, don't you?
No.
Sean, you look like a rabbit caught in headlights.
I absolutely fucking hate it.
Would you like to expand on your interesting opinion?
I just dislike I just sitting there and painting the models has very little interest to me, apart from the fact it's just part of the hobby that if you want to, play tournaments or whatever like that, I have to just grit my teeth and do it. I painted 2,000 points of Knights, and that was 7 models. Fine. If all my armies were 7 models, fucking great.
And he screamed and cried all the way through that painting.
He did. He literally did. You should have seen the group chat.
And I've painted plenty, I have, but sitting there and looking at a 2,000 point army going, I need to paint all of this. And I'm just like, you know what? I don't know if I can do it. I just dislike sitting there and painting.
Yeah.
I just don't like it.
Yeah, I
appreciate anyone that sits there and
happy to do.
People enjoy it, and it's people relax by doing it, which is absolutely fine. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back before that when it comes to hobbying. I quite detest building them.
Oh, really?
depending on the model, depending on what I'm trying to build, but just trying to glue a certain. It depends what it is, but sometimes it's just like you were saying about trying to glue your. Was it what was he trying to glue and it wouldn't stay in place? Celestine, and it was painful. Like I had the same issue with. I had the same issue with Wraith Guards a couple of weeks, and it was just it wouldn't stay on. I was just getting so pissed off. So it's the gluing side.
I have just kit bashed 5 heavy intercessors with shields.
You have, and they look fucking awesome.
And I quite enjoyed that kind of aspect of going of doing that and having to, that was more of a problem solving of how am I going to get these to look good, and it was more the problem solving aspect that I enjoyed more than the like gluing and building them. It was just I want these to look a certain way. Now what do I have to do? What do I have to chop? How do I have to angle this? How do I? And right, I've angled it like that, and now that looks really shit. So how am I going to make that look less shit?
Hide it with a shield.
How do you make it more fisty?
And so I quite enjoyed that bit of it, and I have got paint on them so far. There is some paint on them because I'm trying to do just kind of 10-15 minutes at a time. Because after about 10-15 minutes,
But you're doing it. That's all you need to do. 10-15 minutes at a time. You're doing it.
Oh yeah, but it's purely for the sake of if I want to take them to a tournament ever, I have to do it. So.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, you see, and for me, I would say that I'm someone who I like painting when it comes and it comes naturally. But if I'm not in the mood, and I'm someone who actually will paint a model or get partway through painting a model and then get a bit bored, so then I pick up another model. So I've got lots of models which are partially painted, which isn't ideal, but at least I've got some stuff done. To be honest, my favorite part of the hobby, if my hobby could be just list building and theory crafting, themed lists, narrative lists, or lists to which seem fun to play.
Yeah.
That's where I'm happiest. I could sit and just list build all the time. And I'm a bit like Sean in that way. If I could pass the building and the painting onto someone else, and I could just have it there just to get models on the table and play the lists which I'm theory crafting, then I'd be a very happy man. But I do get pleasure out of building and painting. That wanes a little bit, and I've just got to then force myself, which then isn't as good. But
when your pleasure wanes, it's just not worth it anymore.
It's a good old way.
Oh.
I know.
Anyway,
who brings this man along? I tell you what.
I'm talking about hobbying. What do you think I'm talking about? You made that bloody connection with your filthy mind.
I did not. And you're just full of hot air, and it comes out both ends now with what we've worked out.
Yeah.
So
right. We'll go on. I was going to say, what's the meat and potatoes of our episode today? Then?
Yeah. So basically, on that note, where we talked about our hobbying, we felt it was probably time that we got someone actually pretty much more professional than us to talk about it.
Yeah, someone who knows what they're doing,
and someone who's actually doing really well and has really shown their painting to be really cool and different, and someone who's doing really well with their hobbying. So Adam, we've managed to secure ourselves our first ever guest on the Warped Ones.
Victim.
Tell us about
So I've been chatting to a young lady on Instagram because I'm quite a fan of her work, Emily, Pink Warhammer. You can find her under Pink.Warhammer on Instagram. I think you've all seen some of her work. And I think she's very talented. She's only been painting about a year, and her progress in that year compared to my 5 or 6 years is phenomenal. She's really talented. So we're going to just talk to her a bit about the hobby and her take on the hobby and how she sort of become so talented in what she does. Really
doing this episode is on our hobbying side of things, something which we cover in most of our podcasts as we talk about our hobbying and what we've done across the week, and to be honest, we're pretty shocking, Emily, at hobbying. We celebrate even the slightest bit of paint which hits our models, even if it's accidental, because actually we're not the best at all. So we were thrilled when Adam said that you agreed to come on and join us on the show. So we just wanted to have a chat. So did you want to tell us a bit about yourselves? And
did you know that you were teaching us to paint? That was why you're here. You're actually teaching us how to paint. Emily's master class.
Well, I mean, I might be a really bad teacher. we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I think we're unteachable, to be honest. But yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so Emily,
Hey,
do you-
I've done some good pieces actually. You speak for yourself. I've done some pretty good pieces.
yeah, that's fine. We all believe you, Adam. Yeah. So Emily, do you want to tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, depends what you want to know, really. My name's Emily. Obviously, I've got my Pink Warhammer account, mainly because I started painting Pink Warhammer. I still do the pink now and again. I've started doing a little bit of green now for the Tyranids, so branching out a little bit. But yeah, there's not too much to know about me. I'm 27. Work 9 to 5 office job. So it's trying to find the balance to get the hobby in.
Yeah,
So I love the hobby.
We can definitely
Trying to find the time. But yeah, I started getting more interested in the painting side of it. Didn't know a thing about the law, playing games, anything like that at the start. It was just, let's give painting a bash. Turns out, didn't mind it. Quite fun. Play quite a few games now, actually, so I've got more into the gaming side of it as well. So starting to pick the hobby up. Been doing it for about a year now.
Lovely.
So
I've seen some of your work, especially your recent Tyranids, and you are. I mean, to be honest, you put all of us to shame.
Absolutely.
Simon and myself have been in the hobby. I think 5-6 years now. Me and Simon have. Sean and Lee are about a year. I mean, we have all dipped in and out over the years, and I would think over 5 years I would be a little bit better than what I am, but I'm actually sort of stalemated now and reached that plateau. I think when I have the time, I can really put sort of a good piece out. But for somebody who's only been doing it a year, you obviously got that sort of innate ability and a lot of skills already. Was you quite sort of artistic before you got into Warhammer? Was that a skill you had?
I think so. I mean, I can't say I've really dabbled with my artistic side since being in school, and that was quite some time ago. But I think, yeah, it's one of those things. I think looking at it at first before I started, it seemed really daunting because the size of the miniatures to paint and sort of the skill and the level and everything that you want to put into it to get the detail there. I just looked at it and thought, how am I supposed to paint eyes on this? I mean, I still do, I'm not gonna lie, but
You have eyes?
yeah,
Eyes?
it's just
Mine just have a blob of
we-
white.
We
if they're
avoid
lucky.
the eyes, apart from I did it once and they were like that.
Yeah.
So
It's literally I
paint
have one
helmets
model there,
so
and
much
I'm
easier.
like, I get one eye, and then the other one's like, oh, like paint over that.
I think I did about 6 hours worth of painting, and he still came out looking like the bloke from the Goonies. There you go.
Have you ever tried to paint with a single hair and it just doesn't work? It comes out like a big blob.
all the time,
Yeah.
all the time.
Cool. So what sort of technique then do you use? What would be your favourite way of painting?
I'm a big fan of dry brushing, I'm not gonna lie.
Me too.
Picks out so much detail so quickly. That is my go-to. What I struggle with more than anything is trying to get an army battle ready, because I spend too much time on the details. I either put loads of effort into the painting and I have one model painted out of the full army, or I go the other way around and I'm trying to rush it. I know, like, for the last time I sort of competed in a tournament, for example, I was still sat in the hotel the night before trying to paint things, popping things up on like little milk pots, for example, just trying to get it all glued together because I was not battle ready for a tournament. And it's trying to find that balance of how much detail do I put in so that I still enjoy it and I can play it to painting, because it takes up so much time painting, but I absolutely love it.
Yeah, that's good. When I'm there and in my zone, I really enjoy it too. But it's sometimes I have to really force myself to sit down and do it. I can go through peaks and troughs myself, so I can have these points where I don't pick up a paintbrush for months, and then I don't put a paintbrush down for months. So I sort of have those hobby lulls, as you like, or a hobby slump. How do you sort of get through that? Do you ever have a hobby slump?
I have hobby slums all the time, I'm not gonna lie. So for me, it's just making myself put the time aside and making myself paint. Once I've picked up a paintbrush and I've been painting for half an hour or so, next thing I could be looking at the clock at midnight and I've been sat there 8 hours. But it's just the thought of I've got so much detail to put in, and I think when you're wanting to paint as much detail as you can into them, it's having to concentrate. It's not something that you can necessarily just sit there and think, oh, I'll just do a bit of painting and relax. Like, for me, I stress myself out painting because I'm thinking, I'm happy with this, I'm not happy with that, and then I don't want to lose the fun out of it. So sometimes I have to take a little bit of a break, and I'll take a week off and just recharge and come back at it again next week.
Yeah, I find I'm my own worst critic sometimes. So I'll paint something, I've sort of sent a picture in the group, and Sean's like, or Simon or whoever, they've sort of said, yeah, that's really good actually. And I look at that and think, no, it's not. And I'm picking out all the minor little mistakes that other people can't see.
I don't think I've ever said anything of yours is really good, and never,
I was gonna
never
say-
think I've given you a compliment.
We were just being nice to you, Adam.
you
Come on.
bastard.
Yeah. It's got
Yeah,
four
yeah,
colours.
See
on
what I
it,
have to part with. I feel I'm victimised and bullied in this podcast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right.
And
And it's
everybody wants to have it the other way.
Some of it's actually like.
So what's your favourite? What you said you went to a tournament? What army did you use at your tournament?
So I took my Thousand Suns. So that was the first army that I sort of
Lee's eyes lit up then.
fell in love with. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the same player. So what was?
So I'm a Space Wolf player, so we're enemies, I'm afraid.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Magnus did everything bloody wrong.
No, he didn't.
Well, he
I
did.
don't know much about the law, but I know he did nothing wrong.
See, Lee agrees with you. Lee agrees with you.
100%. 100%.
Hands up if you think Magnus did something wrong. You bastards.
Poor little guy.
even if I did think he did something wrong, the fact that you said that meant I wasn't putting my hand up.
I gotta say, I just refused. Then that was me. My mind was made up in that moment. I don't even follow that law, but it's great. Yeah. So would you say Thousand Suns are your favourite then to paint? What would be your favourite ones to paint?
Do you know what? I love the models. I thought, oh, these are very nice. First army. I mean, why I chose that for my first army, I do not know. Because all that gold trim and detail, I thought, yeah, they look very nice. And then you start painting them and think, I did this a year ago, more or less. Thousand Suns first army. I got one box of Rubric Marines, and I still have 5 of them unpainted. I'm not gonna lie. A year later, because I did 5. I thought,
I was quite.
now I have to sit and paint these.
Yeah, it's definitely.
I was exactly the same. Trying to paint rubrics.
I think sometimes when you're painting too much of the same colour, it can be a bit. You get a bit tunnel vision almost.
Yeah.
So you have to have a break, and I just pick up something else, like I pick up an Orc or Space Marine or something, and paint that. I remember I managed to get all of my Leagues of Votann painted, and that was purely because I had COVID and locked myself in a room for 14 days with nothing but my paint and a paintbrush. But I literally got fed up with seeing the colour green that I'd painted the armour after a while.
Gold trim is the worst thing. It's just horrific.
Yeah.
Oh.
So what I would ask then is that for lots of people who are getting into the hobby, what would be your tips for painting for someone who's only just starting out? Because I mean, you've only just been painting now for a year, like you said. So you had that first moment where you started, and you've made that sort of amazing sort of progress, and you're doing it like amazing stuff, which makes us go wow on Instagram. But what would you say to someone starting off about your tips for them?
Research colour scheme first, because there's been countless times I've gone, do you know what, I'm going to go in and do all this colour, and I'll make a start, and I'll think, this is, no, not for me, don't like it. And then
follow the colour wheel.
Yeah. So always look at sort of like the colours. I think for me, everything I was looking at was just following the usual colour schemes. And I think at the time, and still now, if I want to paint something, whatever colour will make me happy to look at, I will paint it that colour. Hence the pinks, Rubric Marines. I think if I was sat there painting them a colour that I didn't like, I think I'd be just deterred to sit there and get them finished. Because it is a slog, but definitely have a look at like colour schemes, how you want to work it. And I think base coating and priming is a big thing. So for me, I base coated all of my Rubric Marines at first purple, thinking I'll just paint over them pink. I've caused myself so much more work. Like if I could have just done those a different colour first and then just painted the detail, I'd have saved myself so much time.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Helpful.
Do you use contrast paints at all? Do you make use of contrast?
Do you know what? Until I started painting the Tunics a couple of months ago, I'd never used contrast paint. And now it's absolutely changed my life, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, they're good. We were quite a fan of the slap chop method, purely for the quickness of it, and I think you get some quite good results out of that. I mean, it certainly looks better than what I could produce without slap chopping, I think, and I think it's like you say, dry brushing. Going back to what you said earlier, I think dry brushing is such a great technique. You can just even if you've finished a model, you can still edge highlight with dry brushing if you're careful enough, and it's really, really valuable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think when I first started, I didn't really look into sort of like the different techniques as such. It's more things that I've picked up over time. But like I never used to really like shade anything with like put a wash over it or anything like that, and that would have saved me so much time just highlighting, detailing, adding things like little shades into the recesses. I'm sat there painting them all individually, and then like 3 months later, I'm like, let's try this wash. Should have done that in the first place.
Yeah.
So I think going into the hobby
Yeah.
brand new, like I've enjoyed experimenting with it, but I think if I'd maybe looked into it a little bit more before I started just painting, but then I've picked it all up quite quickly within the year. So it's just one of those things really, and just experiment and see how it goes.
That's cool.
Yeah. I think having the right tools as
Yeah.
well. I was painting with some brushes that were absolutely gone well beyond their shelf life. And I went out and spent a lot of money on some brushes. And I think having the right tools is absolutely, if you want to get good results, you need to spend out the money on some really good brushes and some other tools as well.
Yeah.
Cool.
Absolutely. So we've got Sean here as well. Actually, he's our resident I hate painting guy. He absolutely hates it with a passion. What advice would you give to Sean, do you think?
I would just try and stick it out. I think the more you go at it, the more I got into it that way. I think practicing, because I think when you're trying to develop a level of skill, I think there's so many times where I thought, you know what, I'm just not going to do this. I don't have the patience for it, and I'm getting stressed out looking at it. Keep taking a break from it and going back to it and practicing, because the more I've painted, the more I've fallen in love with it.
Yeah.
And you can only
I think it's just that but I've seen some of your stuff, Sean.
He might have.
In all fairness, your night.
He might have an army that's wants
Yeah,
some
he
models.
might.
If I sit down and paint something and put the effort into it, then I think I can produce something half okay-ish. But I genuinely, it is, if for me to sit down and actually paint it, I'm sitting here going, I've got 1,000,000,001 things else that I could be doing that I would probably enjoy slightly more than
But
this.
do you not get the satisfaction out of having like a fully painted army on the board instead of like a load of grey models? Or do you just get somebody else to paint them for you so they are painted?
If I could afford to get someone else to paint them for me, I most certainly would.
So would I.
I get no satisfaction from it.
Well, we've got a commission artist on the show right now, Sean.
Yeah, it's all right. We're taking.
Yeah,
We're keeping the details.
Yeah, if I could afford it. I'm too busy spending all the money on new armies, and
Yeah.
I don't get any satisfaction, quite frankly, of seeing a fully painted army. It's a necessity that would get me 10 points in a game. So I'm like, all right, I'll have to do it then.
Fair enough.
Yeah, you use the slap chop method, don't you? Because it's quick. You slap chop, but even when I'm slap chopping, I still go over and pick out details. So you could do a slap chop one model. I could probably do that in about 5-10 minutes, no problem. But then because I have to do the detail, it's an extra couple of hours on top of that.
Yeah.
It depends what I'm doing. If I'm slap chopping Marines, it's pretty rapid. If I'm slap chopping Custodes, it's pretty not rapid. Because they've got a lot of spells, so I do.
Whereas I prefer not slap chopping. I prefer to paint it and to do a wash and then to highlight. That's where I prefer. I always get better results that way. It's quicker doing slap chop, but I prefer the look of something which isn't slap chopped. But that's just me.
Yeah. I think it's each their own, isn't it? Everybody's got their own individual style. I would say I'm sort of slap chop and a half, or half a slap chop, really. I get the basics down and then
Let's face it.
pick out.
Let's face it. You're going to drown it doing oil anyway.
Drown.
Drax
Earth.
You just
the bath.
That's what we do.
But we've all come along though. I remember sending Simon. We played a game called Infinity, and I sent him a picture of the first model I ever painted. God, it looked like I just dunked it in a tin of orange. He's like, yeah, it's really good. It wasn't. It was like when your child brings home a picture that they've done at school and says, look, mummy or daddy, look what I've made. And you know it's shit, but you put it on the cupboard anyway.
I was such a good
friend. It was exactly like that.
I was such a good friend.
I really don't.
I'm like, well done. It was really good. And just thinking, oh my God, it's hideous. Just hideous. Honestly. But anyway.
But then look at the progress I've made to sort of then. It's quite. It's been a long time, but you learn by your mistakes.
Gone from orange to blue.
So how have you found playing the game? Now, you said that you kind of started off with the painting side of it, and you're getting more into the playing. How's that going?
Okay, so at first, don't get me right, it took me so long to get my head around it. I think I learnt during 9th edition, so I was learning all the different phases. for my Thousand Suns, because they were the only army that I had when I started out playing the psychic phase, trying to get my head around all those casts and eyes, all the different spells, what they can
Simon
do.
doesn't worry about that.
So I was just looking at it thinking, well, I don't know how many of these I can use. What do I do? Where do they all go? Rolling the dice, easy. I can do that. The dice rolls were never nice to me, but that's different matter.
You're in the right place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hence why we got you on the show.
We're like an agony aunt for ones. Don't worry about it.
But yeah, I've definitely found the 10th much easier, and I've sort of started branching out into a couple of different armies now as well. So now I feel like it took me a while to fully understand the gameplay, but now I love it, and playing games like 2-3 times a week, and yeah,
Nice.
fun. I've really got into that side of it, to be honest with you.
He's more than us.
How did you get into Warhammer in the first place? What was your journey into the hobby? Not just the painting side of things, but did you just walk past the shop and think, "Oh, that looks cool, I'll pop in," or somebody introduced you to it?
Yeah, so I was introduced through my boyfriend. So he sort of, I think he wasn't massively into it at the time, but it was definitely something that we was getting more and more involved in. And I'd heard about it in the past. I've got friends and things that play it. Never got too involved in it. But I think I actually sat down one night and just looked at some of the models and just thought, you know what, I might just give this a go. Just have a look at it. So one of my friends bought me a starter set, just like the 2 push fit models with like the set of 6 paints and a paintbrush. Gave that a go one night and thought, actually, that doesn't look too bad. I might give another little set a go. Bought my first set of rubrics, and yeah, I mean, that was almost a year ago now. So here we are.
And that's it. It just sucks you in that way, doesn't it?
It does.
Literally.
It does.
I-
And I've
I-
got shelves and shelves and shelves of plastic models.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? I literally
No
find
money,
plastic models
yay.
everywhere. Yeah, no money.
We're happy. That's the main thing.
Don't need money. Got a load of plastic.
Are we?
Well, I am.
No, never truly.
Never truly. We're not happy because they keep bringing out new models, so we're always chasing them.
Exactly.
We're always chasing it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we got new editions and new codexes, and look, it's a new set of data cards. I'll get them as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. So,
Yeah.
so Emily, so where do you see yourself going then? What's your next steps, or what would you like from this?
I think I just want to keep sort of working on my skill, to be honest with you. When I set up the Instagram page, I never anticipated it to take off to the extent that it had. I think for me, it was more just documenting my own progress. So I had somewhere to look back on to see like what I painted, try and get sort of, like I said, documentation of it all, and keep looking back at things, looking at where I can improve and sort of self-critiquing. But it turns out a lot of people were sort of interested in that page. And don't get me wrong, I love that side of the hobby as well. I love sort of the networking, talking to people, getting to know people, opportunities like this. Obviously, speaking with you guys, until last night, I'd never spoken to any of you. Do you know what I mean? And then today, we're sort of going into all of this, and it's absolutely great. I think just
Yes. I'm never going on warped ones again.
Listed.
But you know, I think I really enjoyed it, and I think I went to Warhammer Fest in April, and just seeing some of the community and some of the names out there, getting to know different people and their interest in the hobby, and talking and socialising and networking that way as well, was just absolutely great.
It's such a social hobby. I mean, we were quite a closeted group, really. It was just us 4, and then we recently went to a tournament, and we sort of suddenly come out, and there was lots of people there who were also into Warhammer, and now we've got all their numbers, and we're playing with all these different people.
People into Warhammer at a Warhammer tournament?
Exactly.
No.
Genius.
God, I tell you what, who'd have thought it? Yeah, but that's the thing but we're and like you said, is that it just taking that first step, and actually that was something which we've talked about on previous podcasts before of you can play with just the one person you normally play with or something like that, but actually as you've said, taking that first step to start to make links with people, or to get out there and meet new people and play games and that sort of stuff makes a huge difference, because actually, like you said, is that we never thought a year ago we'd be here doing this sort of stuff and meeting all the people we're meeting. And I mean, it just shows that actually there's a wealth of people and fun out there if you just follow this hobby to see where it goes.
I think I was so scared of being judged about the way I play, the way I paint, that held me back. But I guess my own sort of social anxiety. But then once I sort of got out there, it was something completely different. You know, nobody really cared. Nobody judges. Once you come out, no one gives a shit.
Although you are a Space Wolves player, so that we do judge a little bit.
Yeah. You love wolves and the short man.
Nothing wrong
Well,
with
sisters as well now, and orcs. Don't forget.
Oh yeah, branching
Yeah,
out,
but everyone loves orcs. Who doesn't love
I
orcs?
mean, equal opportunities. There's a place for everybody.
but still lots of fur. Okay, cool.
Furries need loving too.
Yeah. So, any more questions, everybody? Anyone got any more questions for me?
How you sort of said that your page is really taken off. How's your commission business going? Is it going quite well? Are you getting much sort of work out of that?
Yeah, so I've had quite a few emails and things, and people sort of reaching out and have been looking into it. It's one of those things that I sort of soft launch more than anything. So it's on my link tree. The email address is there, but I think more than anything at the moment, my priority was sort of trying to get myself a battle ready army. But I thought, you know what, I'll just see if there's any sort of interest out there. I mean, I work full time as well. I have a daughter. Trying to find that time to hobby. I don't want to fully commit myself to it, but at the same time, there's a few things that I've got coming up, a few pieces and things that I can be doing. So it's nice to sort of ease into that, and it's nice to think that people want me to paint some of the models for them and sort of think that it's good. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing. I think it's awesome that you've got.
Yeah, for someone who's only been painting a year, it's really sort of phenomenal. Really, it's doing really well.
And for everyone listening and watching, you know, heading onto your Instagram page and seeing the quality we're talking about, because you know it's impressive. And I definitely say I've seen some of your stuff and gone away and thought, oh, well, that's a good color scheme, or that's something I'm going to try doing.
Your Tyranids are amazing. Where can they find you, Emily? Whereabouts can people find you?
So the main account that I use is my Instagram account. So that is just pink.warhammer. So yeah, that is my account. That's me, Emily. I try to make it as Warhammer related as I can. It is all Warhammer related, but there is a little bit of my personality in there. There is the odd post of what's going on in my day-to-day life. You'll normally see me sat in a Starbucks shopping for paint and paintbrushes and God knows what. But yeah, that's my account.
It's awesome.
How do you just one last thing, because one of the things that I think myself, well, all of us here actually we struggle with is, and you touched on it briefly, is the time to paint. So like Sean, myself and Simon, we've all got children and we've got families, so that takes up my time and obviously a full-time job. So how do you cope with that, you know, when you're sort of painting lots and churning out quite a bit? Because I can literally go sometimes months without picking up a paintbrush because I'm busy with other things, and I think we all have that really.
Yeah, where I can, I'll try to schedule it in. So I'll check the calendar and think, do you know what, I might have a few hours spare that night, and I'll schedule it in. Don't get me wrong, there will be nights where I think, do you know what, it's not happening tonight. But I'll try and block out a little bit of time. And I tend to occasionally use my annual leave. So I know, like, when I was doing the tournament annual, I had to get an army battle ready. And I thought, do you know what, I'm just going to take a day and I'll just take it at my own pace. I'm not rushing. I can just relax and do what I want. So I will occasionally use the odd annual leave day, but more because I enjoy painting and that is relaxing for me, and I will sit and paint just for fun. So yeah, just trying to schedule in that time ahead where I can is usually a little bit easier. But then occasionally plans will get cancelled, and secretly I'll be like, yes, my plans are cancelled. I've got a little bit of free time. Whilst I'm on the phone to my friend saying, yeah, it's okay, don't worry that you cancelled. I've got a little bit of time back
now. Oh, me.
That's normally what I'm like when I want to play Adam. Sorry, Adam, I can't play with you tonight. God. Oh, what a shame. I'll just
painting.
Yeah, well,
even I do that, and I hate if I'd rather paint than play against Adam.
yeah, especially with his bowels. But anyway, that's another story. But yeah, do you know what? I'm going to do some scheduling. I'm going to schedule myself in some painting.
I think that's a good.
I'm thinking
so
well.
What we'll do before we get to the next podcast, we're going to purposely start to schedule, and we're going to check each other to make sure that we've scheduled time specifically. Even Sean.
Yeah.
And we're going to see.
I think we should all meet up like this and paint, and we're probably more likely to chuck out some stuff. My advice as well is, even if you can only sit down for 10 minutes or so, that's 10 minutes less that you've got to do on a model. than what
Do
you
you
would
know what
have
I
to do the
did?
next day.
Yeah, making it so much easier for me. And I think my other half probably hates me for it, but I took over the dining table and I left all my stuff out because I was more inclined on a night to just, well, it's there, so I'll just sit there for 10 minutes rather than thinking, I've got to get all of this out, I've got to get set up. If you can try and dedicate a little bit of space, like a hobby desk or something, or just a section of my computer desk usually is what I would use, and just leave everything out, then I'm more inclined to just sit down just for 10 minutes at a time and actually crack on. But if you're scheduling things in, I want to see the befores and afters, so I know what you've all painted.
That told
There's
us.
the face, Simon. You said it.
Oh
Now
God! You know I say about scheduling. My schedule's full. Yeah.
You've changed your mind now, haven't
No,
you?
no, I'm up for that. I'm
You'll play
definitely up
games
for that.
and stuff.
Challenge accepted.
There we go. Lee, is the challenge accepted from your end?
Yeah, definitely. I got Hold Your Car forced to paint yet, so that's my
Okay.
my
So you're going to
schedule.
paint
Just
all
think-
of those by next podcast. That's good.
There'll be some paint on it. Doesn't necessarily mean a lot.
That's all right. So okay, so we are.
Just think when we go to the next tournament, we won't have to stress paint a week before the tournament like we did last time.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
I didn't know I could paint monoliths so quickly. I tell you, Necron monoliths. I'm like,
Simon painted a monolith in an evening.
I did.
It's like a giant monolith.
5 years.
And he
5
won
years and I haven't even
twice
finished
the
an
best
army,
design.
and then I was like, monolith. Oh my God! I can do it quickly.
I did that with
One
Magnus
prize.
the Red. I was sat painting wings in my hotel room the night before, thinking I'm up at 6 and it's midnight, but you know,
Yeah.
gets it
Yeah,
done.
and but we did. I tell you what, though, we did win. Me and Sean did win best painted army. I'm going to put it out there.
I think it was most
Yeah,
fabulous
see?
force, wasn't it?
It was. We were good. We were good. I was happy with that.
And I'll rest my credentials on that. I don't need to paint again. I've already done it.
You've got the trophy to prove it.
Tick that off your bucket list.
Yes, we have.
Now you need to actually win
That
a
was the
tournament.
mic. That was the mic drop. No, I don't need to win. I'm just happy with that.
Oh, so yeah, no, that's
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Well, do you know what? Well, I'm definitely inspired to go out and do some painting now. I don't know about anyone else here.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I think we should sort of make this a regular thing and do some let's paint with warped ones, and we can invite people and get sort of a painting session going between all of us really, and any of the community who want to join us. It should become a regular sort of once a month or something like that.
Absolutely. And Emily, should you ever feel like you've got absolutely nothing better to do and you want to come back and join us again, then what we can do is you can always judge a model of ours which we've painted. That would be fun.
Yeah, that would be fun. I wouldn't want to know whose was whose.
No.
though.
We'll send you random.
Chuck them
Yeah,
up.
we'll
Shut
send you
up.
random.
Send me some random ones. And I'll have a
So
look.
we should all swap a model from each other's army randomly,
I don't
and we
touch
have to
your mind.
paint out of our comfort zone.
Good idea.
I'm just going to put in my monolith. Job done.
Has to be a recently
have my
painted.
avatar.
Oh, it has to be recently painted. Oh, okay, fair enough. Yeah, okay, we'll do that. Cool. No, but that's good. But thank you very much for joining us, Emily. I think that was.
Well, yeah,
really
thank you
great.
very much, Emily. It's been an
Thoroughly
absolute
enjoyed
pleasure,
that.
and
Thank you so much.
you're welcome
Thank
to
you
come
for
back
having me.
anytime.
Yeah.
Chat
Absolutely.
shit with us because nobody chats shit like us.
And roll
And
one.
roll ones. That's true.
That's
That's
And
true.
roll ones, yep.
But but definitely fantastic. Go and check out her Instagram. Definitely recommended, and we can't wait to see what you have in your future. And it's going to be amazing. I think. Really impressed.
So that concludes our interview with the lovely Emily. Thank you all for listening. So we'd like to hear about your hobby stories, actually. So you can contact us on the Discord, on the Instagram, on Facebook, multiple ways. I think it was really good to have somebody on the show and get a different perspective of somebody who does actually enjoy the hobby. And I think we all enjoy the hobby to varying degrees. And it was quite interesting one, actually. So we'd also be looking to get other people on the show in the future. If you do want to come on, please contact us on the way I just mentioned. So that's it from me, Adam.
Thank you for joining us. Yeah, fascinating one. And that's it from me, Simon.
Yeah, it's been interesting. Yes, like you say, to see people that enjoy the hobby side of it, certainly more than I do. But yes, it's been great.
It's been a pleasure. Nice to talk to someone who actually knows more about it than we do.
Which isn't hard.
Which is
And on that
Which
note,
isn't hard. As most
which isn't
people-
hard, no.
Yeah.
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 So, everyone. And on that bombshell, it's goodbye.
Look forward to catching you on the next podcast, everybody. See you soon.
Woo!